Hello and welcome to PepTalks, where we bring you all the startup related updates and fun yet inspiring stories of crazy startup founders. I'm your host Arya Razurkar, and today on PepTalks we have yet another amazing startup founder, Mr. Apratim Ganguli, who's the founder of Flyk. And there's so much to take out from this conversation we had. And yeah, without wasting any time, let's move to it. Actually necessary for each and every startup founders to like go through with some learnings. And I like um जितने भी founders के साथ like I've been talking to, they have sort of one startup at least, which had a failure, right? And definitely it's actually even necessary, uh, failure to get a one startup that जो नहीं चलेगा, but it actually helps you a lot in future. So
Maybe absolutely.
yeah, so let's talk about Fleek now. So please, Apratim, let us know about Fleek. How does it works and what exactly it's about?
Sure. Um, I'll start with something of an elevator pitch, which is mundane, but yeah, good to start the conversation. Essentially, here in India, almost 16.8 crore individuals who, let's say, are self or informally employed from the LMI segment. And for reference, he or she can be your house help or driver. I mean, all these individuals. So, it's very difficult for them to actually go and avail a formal loan, in spite of there being so many lending fintechs currently available on the Play Store. And a very easy test would be to, let's say, ask. We obviously help our friends and family in times of need, even our house help or driver. And if there's a need, if you can ask them that, okay, download so and so and apply for a loan, there's a high probability that the person will not get a loan in the first place. And the issue is because banks and NBFCs in general, uh, majority of the fintechs also, they still rely heavily on a CIBIL score or a formal income source. CIBIL score essentially, if for the people in general, it's assumed that everybody has a CIBIL score. It's an assumption that everybody has a CIBIL score, and CIBIL is that score essentially on which banks rely to give away loans to the end customers. So, people who are self or informally employed from the LMI segment, they their CIBIL scores are below 700, which is insufficient, and obviously they don't have a formal income source. So, there is reason, for us to go beyond CIBIL to score these individuals. So that's where Flick comes into the picture, and the concept is pretty straightforward. Just like we all rely on recommendations and ratings for deciding what to buy online, what to watch, whom to hire, etc. Flick relies on the recommendations and ratings of its credible community members for deciding whom to lend. And to ensure objectivity, these recommendations are combined with alternative data, which is developed in house before coming to a final conclusion. So once a person has a good enough Flick score, that person can avail loan or services from Flick's lending partners.
Hmm.
And when I say that, okay, you can give recommendations and ratings, what this essentially means is, so let's say if I am giving you a recommendation, or let's say I say that, okay, Arya is going, or Arya will be a good borrower.
Hmm.
So how Flick treats this recommendation is that Arya's repayment behavior is actually going to affect Apratim services. So let's say if Arya repays his
Hmm.
dues on time, it
Hmm.
improves
Hmm.
Apratim's credit limit, makes him eligible for a high ticket loan for a longer duration at lower interest rates and charges. But on the
Hmm.
other hand, if Arya fails to pay his dues on time, Apratim gets negatively affected uh, because of, let's say, Arya's repayment behavior. So people essentially make sure that they recommend only people whom they have known for long, and who know, okay, that person is financially responsible.
Hmm.
That's a nutshell of what we are doing. But I mean, all this is handled through a Flick's mobile application. But the type of people that we are essentially catering to, uh,
Hmm.
delays and delinquencies or defaults are part of the entire system. So you have to manage those delays and delinquencies, and you have to ensure that collections are happening. So we have
Hmm.
a separate agent app for that, and that agent essentially works with the community of business correspondents, or BCs, which we call them. So BCs essentially are people who work with bank on a commission level for account opening and all the banking services. So India already has around 12.4 lakh BCs all over the India,
Hmm.
all over the country. So we work with those BC community on an incentive payout basis, and we say that okay, आपके एरिया में इनको वेरीफाई करना है, इनसे ड्यूज कलेक्ट करना है. So rather than working with external collection agencies, we have actually have a unique independent module for collections, जिससे we have foot on street presence. So if you compare us to typical fintech, none of people only work on a digital aspect. We actually work on digital plus physical aspect, where we have foot on street presence as well.
So we are kind of end of our podcast, but before that, I want to ask like, what are the new initiatives and or else like let's take an example like innovative things Flick is planning to, or else your guys are already rolling it out.
Uh, okay, Arya. So uh, essentially, if you look at the current lending landscape, I mean, the first issue is कि बहुत सारे लोग already हैं. Why is there need for Flick? But अगर एक simple test भी हम करें कि let's say if you ask your maid or house help to download a digital app and say कि भाई इससे लोन ले लो, तो लोन नहीं मिलता है. So the very question कि सिबिल के बिना हम लोग, सिबिल या फॉर्मल इनकम के बिना हम लोग लोन कैसे दे सकते हैं. So that is the problem that we are solving. In fact, uh, if you currently look at the lending landscape here in India, you won't find any other fintech who is actually working on a model like this.
Hmm.
There's a closest company, which again is a competitor by the name of Kosh, which is
Hmm.
actually working on a typical group lending model. हमारे उसमें ऐसा नहीं है. एक
Okay.
आदमी बिना ग्रुप बनाए बिना नेटवर्क बनाए भी फ्लिप को यूज़ कर सकता है. एंड इफ़ यू think of a competition from or a reference from a global perspective, there was this company called Vouch in USA back in 2014. It essentially promised, so let's say if people can vouch for you, people will say that okay, Arya is a good borrower. अगर ऐसा होता है तो I mean Arya will get a loan, and if Arya doesn't pay the dues on time, other people who have vouched for him will essentially pay some part of the loan as a penalty. So people have tried to work on similar models, but I mean the most innovative part of this is that we are actually leveraging what we call as social capital for lending purposes. तो
Hmm.
आर्या का सोसाइटी में जो स्टैंडिंग है कि जब लोग उसके बारे में क्या समझते हैं क्या नहीं समझते, that essentially we are quantifying it and using it for lending purposes. So if you go through research papers, people have been trying to utilize trust for lending. We are actually the one currently doing it. So yeah, that's the innovative part of it. But obviously जैसे होता क्या है कि हम लोग ट्रस्ट के बेसिस पर हम लोग इंश्योर करते हैं कि हमने दोस्त को पैसे दिए, घर वालों को पैसे दिए, कई बार पैसा वापस आता है, कई बार पैसा नहीं भी आता है. सो
Right.
ट्रस्ट इज एसेंशियली यूज्ड फॉर लेंडिंग, बट टू इंश्योर कि पैसा ज़्यादा बार वापस आए, वी आर कंबाइनिंग ट्रस्ट विद डेटा एंड इंश्योरिंग कि भाई ठीक है, जिसका पैसा दे रहे हैं उसका पैसा वापस भी आ रहा है. So, and this is
Hmm.
something that you will find only in Flick that is currently doing it.
That's
And
great.
obviously, we are combining it with a whole different approach of collections as well. Physical aspect भी है. So we
Hmm.
are not saying कि हम लोग सिर्फ digital only operations करेंगे. Again, if you compare to typical fintech, True Balance और credit भी कोई ऐसा नहीं कर रहा है. So from an innovative point of view, I mean, the model is uh, in itself is highly innovative. Obviously, we are now looking to scale the operations, and that's why we are looking for raising a current round of funds. But yeah, if you talk from strictly model point of view, I mean, you won't find a similar competitor either in India currently or in international markets as of now.
That's great. That's really sounds interesting and amazing at the same time. So Apratim, like as you said, like you guys are trying to scale up these things, but at the same time, like what are your future plans with the Fleek, and where do you see Fleek? Let's not take 10 years, let's take 5 years only.
Okay. Uh, so Arya, the plan is pretty straightforward. I mean,
Hmm.
with Flick, we have a Flick score.
Okay.
That score essentially is currently used for lending purposes. Going forward, that same score will be used for providing the person with insurance services. And going forward, Flick as a platform will be used for providing savings instruments as well to the end customer. So एक ही प्लेटफॉर्म से जो तीन एस्पेक्ट्स हैं आपके पर्सनल फाइनेंस के, लेंडिंग, इंश्योरेंस एंड सेविंग्स, Flick will cater to all those services through a single front end platform. And once we have uh, let's say once we have worked in India for, let's say, till FY26, the intention, and let's say once we have a decent enough portfolio, the intention is to actually take this model to international markets as well, African countries and Latin America, जहाँ पर people don't have a credit risk score या कम है. We actually are geography agnostic with what we are doing. But obviously, before going to that scale, I mean, we obviously have to ensure that okay, things are working perfectly here on ground. But yeah, that's what the vision is to continue being a pure play fintech, have a terrific assessment model in place, and provide 360 services to the end customer. And obviously, I mean, that's what not something that fintechs are currently doing with their model of operations.
Hmm. Okay. Really like all the best for your future as well. And moving to the last question, it's a fun question basically, and afterwards we'll be ending this episode. Okay, so like this question is basically if you are like you're the main character of a movie. Okay, so basically it's like if a movie is on you, if it's a biopic of yours, okay, so what will you name it? What will the name of movie?
That's that's I mean a difficult question, but I've always thought of myself as to be Tiroshan from Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, a person
Okay.
who is involved too much in doing certain things, but is open to new experiences and to learn
Hmm.
things. So that would be the character that I resonate most with. So
Okay.
I'll think of this answer and probably will give you an answer next time.
Cool, 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 cool. For sure. Thank you so much, Apratik. It was really insightful conversation with you,
Same here.
and really amazing to have you on Pep Talks. And yeah, like thank you. Any like conclusion of this podcast? You want to say something at last?
No, I mean, so Arya, I mean, it was great. In fact, uh, this was one of my first podcast experience. Loved
Okay.
interacting with you. Discussed so many topics. I mean, when I usually pitch, I usually talk of what we are doing with Flick and everything. But
Right.
really we go into what the past has been, what
Hmm.
the learnings have been so far. So it was great interacting with you. Looking forward to having more podcasts
Yeah,
in.
exactly. For sure, for sure, for sure. And next time, like I feel like for the next podcast we'll be doing offline so that it will be more good and like perfect ho jayega.
Absolutely, Arya. Looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Thanks, Arya.
Apratik. It was
So,
amazing to
thank
have you.
you. Same here.
Thank
Same
you.
here. Bye.
Yeah.